Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience Before the Pour, aka 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is former banker turned wine importer and founder of VOS Selections, Victor O. Schwartz. Victor initially worked in the banking sector on loans, stocks, and bonds before transitioning into the wine industry. Victor's upbringing was steeped in an intense culinary culture, and in 1986, Victor moved to France to jumpstart his wine career. VOS Selections has been a staple in the wine industry for over 35 years. Welcome, Victor.
Great to be here, MJ.
So glad you're here. So what we do here is to warm us up a bit, I'm going to start by asking you some personal questions. They're not really that personal. There's no wrong answers. I probably will make fun of whatever you say, however. And then we will follow that by James Lipton's famous 10 questions from inside the actor's studio. Okay?
All right.
Key is to answer them quickly. First thing comes to your head. Ready?
Yes.
What is your favorite book?
Probably the one I'm reading now.
Okay, and what is that
The
one?
Vanishing of Esme Lennox.
Okay.
I can't just remember books that well.
Oh.
This is a great one.
Yeah. What's your
Her last book was better, though.
What was the last book?
Maggie O'Farrell. She wrote Hamnet.
Okay.
It was a woman's view of Hamlet. Anyway,
Oh.
very interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Hamlet. That was Get Thee to a Nunnery. Yeah, I would like to get a woman's
Yeah.
take on that.
Hamnet, though.
Yeah, Hamnet.
Yeah. Well, that was actually Shakespeare's son. Was named Hamnet.
Oh.
See, we can get onto all kinds of
No,
things.
this-
We better stay on topic
No,
here.
this is what we do here. You know, we talk about life over wine. So you know, favorite musical artist.
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. It's so wide-ranging. I'm just going to go with Neil Young.
It's a good one. Fun fact about Neil Young: he was in a band with Rick James.
Really?
Yep, they were both from Detroit.
We'll talk about a wide-ranging styles. You know,
Yep.
he's all over,
Mhm.
which is great.
Favorite food, last meal. What is Victor having?
Oh wow, favorite food. Well, last meal I made, I had this way of grilling fish that I learned in southern Spain, where the fish is really far away from the coals and it cooks really slowly but really juicy. I call it fish nerja, after the little town on the southern coast.
Oh, this is gonna be Amber. Amber, this is gonna be a good one. He's got.
But I'm just playing.
Well, no,
I'm just playing.
I mean,
You're putting me on the spot. I'm just going with the last thing that comes to my
I mean,
mind.
Whatever.
All right.
Who's your favorite athlete?
My favorite athlete? Well, that's going to go back in time. It's going to be like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like Lou Alcindor.
Yeah. Wait. Right.
But you know that's about when I stopped watching basketball, like Clyde Frazier. That's my era.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a different game then.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I turned on the TV and I'm like, look at these. Like I watched the Super Bowl and I was like, look at this little kid.
Yeah.
He was like 20 or 19. He's a quarterback in the Super Bowl. And
That's right.
He's like a kid.
Yeah.
I don't even think he shaves. He was so clean shaven he couldn't even possibly
It's
shave.
different.
Yeah, it's so different now. Favorite cartoon growing up as a child?
Oh God, there's a good one. Oh, there was Speed Racer. I have to say
I've
that was a
seen
good
Speed-
one.
yeah, yeah.
I loved Speed Racer. We even watched the Beatles cartoons. I wasn't crazy about it though. My
Okay.
brother made me watch. My older brothers. They they put their opinions on you.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were that cool, but I loved Speed Racer.
Cool. Favorite cereal to eat while watching Speed Racer?
Oh God, what's the name of that one? It was the one. It was like caramel. Pops. What were they called?
Oh,
Sugar Pops.
Sugar Pops.
Sugar Pops. Oh, of course, all cereals were illegal in my house, so everything had to be snuck, as was the TV.
Right.
So it was all sneaking.
Yeah, yeah. I totally sweet cereal was like Frosted Flakes. It was like
Oh, yeah.
got that like once a month.
But the best way to eat it though was in the box. See, that was the cool thing. Out of the box.
Yeah.
You put a little milk in the box.
Wait,
and
wait.
you had because you
Oh,
had the
you're talking-
box of the cereal.
Wait, but they also had the
No, the little boxes
they
I'm
had
talking
little
about.
boxes.
You
Remember
know, that was
the value, the
Right.
the assortment.
the assortment, and then you got to
the
pick
GM
one.
assortment, the
Yeah.
Post assortment, the Kellogg.
Well, you had like the
assortment.
healthy assortment and the unhealthy
Yeah,
one. Yeah, the one with
yeah.
all the sugar in it.
Yeah.
And that's I just loved it. A little milk in there.
Yeah.
That was happening. I don't eat cereal hardly anymore. So
Neither do I. Current exercise routine.
well, I run. Mostly run. I do 5Ks, and I realize that's the perfect amount for me.
Yeah.
Not less, not more.
Yeah.
So
I used to run competitively, and 5K is a good.
It's a good
It's a
number.
good distance. You know,
Yeah.
like
you're not going to hurt yourself.
exactly.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to run one up in the Heights next month.
Nice.
A 5K race.
Very nice. Who's your favorite comedian?
Wow. Well, top of my head, I'm going to just say George Burns.
Oh, that's a
I don't know, just because
I know.
you're talking old TV and that kind of thing.
No,
But God, I mean,
I
like
remember.
Robin Williams, like
yeah.
God, I mean, just so many different eras of comics. I mean, Chris Rock is brilliant today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a matter of time.
Yeah. George Burns. You think about with the
It was just
cigar.
timing.
Yeah, it was timing. The cigar.
Kind of guy, like, and you see those now, and the timing is still perfect,
Yep.
and they're still funny.
Yep. Who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
Again, right off the cuff, Paul Krugman.
Who's Paul? Who the fuck is Paul
Who's
Krugman?
Paul Krugman? Exactly. He writes a great economics column for the New York Times.
Love it. I love
Well,
it.
I said, like, off the
No.
top of my head, I don't have any time to think.
I
But I
do-
do keep a list of people I want to have at my
Yeah,
dinner table.
Yeah.
Because I like having dinner. I like having interesting people over.
Exactly.
And I keep, not that any of these people are going to come, but it's like, yeah, I'm going to put that person on my list. 'cause
Well,
they'd
now
be
I'm
really
gonna look
interesting.
for him for economics.
Oh, yeah.
So thanks for that.
He's got a regular, no, he's smart.
Yeah.
Because he brings economics into culture and
Right.
into politics.
Okay.
It's just doesn't just sit there.
Of course.
Sort of like Frank Rich used to do with drama.
Yep.
The same thing. He brings like the whole demographic together, which I think is really smart. It's not, it's not just academic.
Right. I love it. Okay, now Victor, we're going to turn our attention to the 10 questions made famous by James Lipton from Inside the Actors Studio. Victor,
These get me nervous.
what is your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Word.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
That's good. That's a good
When I was
one.
growing up, we always learned that was the longest word, and it made you sound smart. I don't know if it ever got you a date on Saturday night, but
We had someone on here, and their word was onomatopoeia.
Oh,
Yeah, but
here's my favorite word, because this is a good one. Amanuensis.
okay.
That's a really good one. Oh, that's a good one.
What's your least favorite word?
Trump. No, and it's a real word, and there are times you got to use it.
Right.
And
He's
damn,
kinda-
I can't find another word
He's
for
he's
it.
kind of
He's like, I hate when people ruin the language.
he
you
fucked
know?
up. He fucked up spades for black people across America. Because you're like, who's got the Trump card? That was like
That's what I'm saying.
the big card.
The Trump card, or
you know.
like we say in business, we say like culture trumps strategy.
Right, right.
And you go, well, what am I going to use instead of Trump?
Right.
And damn, I don't want to use that word. That's the worst four-letter word to me.
Now you guys go.
Anyway.
Paper lands on rock. Rock breaks scissors. All right. What turns you on? I like it can go a lot of ways with that. Like
Yeah, we can go a
something-
lot of ways with that.
Like people they go my wife or people who say intellectual, but like what turns
Yeah,
you
I mean, learning something new.
on? Love it.
Yeah. So usually something historical. And just go, wow, that happened then, and that. Oh yeah. Oh wow. That's like I just learned. I mean, if you want to get off subject, so I'm watching what was some TV show. It was historical, and then I find out that the guy who was trying to kill her son is the one that married Eleanor of Aquitaine, and. If
So
you're
what
into
you're
the wine,
saying-
if you're into the wine world, like Eleanor of Aquitaine is so important because that's
Okay.
how like Britain took over Bordeaux, right? And Bordeaux, right? And then Bordeaux is really like a British outpost, and,
Of
and,
course.
the wine trade is
Yeah,
connected
it's
to,
like
to
Lynch
England.
Lodge and,
Anyway,
and all the
but it
cognac.
was-
Why is
so-
cognac Hennessy? Because that
Exactly.
whole
So you're
British
so I'm watching the show, and it's like this whole bloody thing, and everyone's killing each other, and then I go, and of course while you're watching, I'm going on to Wikipedia and reading about this guy. He's killing his half sister and this and that, and then he kills her, but her son gets the throne, and her son marries Eleanor of Aquitaine. So I don't know. I thought I love that.
All right,
I love that.
What turns you off? This is gonna be a hot
Oh
episode.
God,
We could go on
politics.
tangents.
Politics. I'll just say that. It's
All right, I hear you.
the front page of the New York Times lately.
There you go.
That's a
I don't
turn
look,
off.
I just can't even do it. What sound or noise do you love?
Purring cat.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Ooh. Something high pitched. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some high pitched electronic. Oof.
It was visceral for you.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
What is your favorite curse word?
Well, F-bomb is just so easy to use. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with. Oh, I learned a new one though. I really love ass hat.
Oh, okay.
It's so much better than asshole.
Yeah.
It almost sounds clean, but it gets across the same idea, so you can use it in a mixed company. And I like it, like somebody like an ass hat, like a real like we're talking about the T-man before.
Yeah.
Like I could see him putting on a hat full of crap, recently laid, and putting it on, and it all falls on. I don't know the whole visual. I like.
What an ass hat.
Exactly. What an ass hat.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Architecture.
I want to be an architect. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
they're really cool. Architects are the coolest. They have the best style. They have the best eyewear.
Of
They have
course,
really
well,
cool
you can't
stuff.
be an architect unless you have the right idea.
Yeah.
They don't let you in the club.
Yeah.
Forget it. You came with some nerdy glasses. Forget it. You're never going to get the job.
What profession would you not like to do?
Oh, wow. Well, I guess banking, 'cause that's what I left. So I'm gonna go there. It's an easy one.
Okay, and lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome. We have a very well-stocked cellar.
Good answer. Well, listen, this was fun.
All right,
And if you
we're
want,
done.
If you want more of Victor, and I know you do, make sure you tune into our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Peace. Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ, and welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is former banker turned wine importer and founder of VOS Selections, Victor O. Schwartz. Victor initially worked in the banking sector on loans, stocks, and bonds before transitioning to the wine industry. Victor's upbringing was steeped in an intense culinary culture, and in 1986, Victor moved to France to jumpstart his wine career. VOS Selection has been a staple in the wine industry for over 35 years. Welcome, Victor.
Great to be here, MJ.
Well, thank you for coming in. Tell us about the wines we're drinking this evening.
Well, we're starting here with champagne. Perfect way to start any party. It's a Blanc de Blanc from Domaine Alexandre Bonnet. Kind of interesting because there's the part of Champagne that's closer to Burgundy than it is to Champagne.
Okay.
So it's all Pinot Noir.
Oh. It's tasty.
Very full bodied.
Yeah, it's very full body. I
Cote
like
d'Ivoire
it.
has its own style.
Yeah. Awesome.
I should also point out, talk about Alexandre Bonnet, they feel like they're in the Grand Cru of the Cote d'Ivoire. So like, this is, I brought two wines today, and I feel like one is sort of like the past and one's the future.
Okay.
And I think these guys have really got it going on, and they're really focusing on the terroir of Les Rissés,
Okay.
which I think is really interesting aspect of what they're doing.
That's really cool. I mean, Champagne is in a bit of a, I don't know if it, but it's a bit of a renaissance, I think. I mean, people are, and the reason why I say that, and you would know because you've been doing this for a long time, people are now seeing it as a wine. They're really getting that champagne as wine.
And we're drinking out of wine glasses.
And we're drinking
not out of champagne.
And we don't drink out of flutes anymore.
Or Marie Antoinette's
Right.
little breast
Boobies.
cup. Yeah.
Boobies. And people, and they're pairing it, right? And like it's become really, I mean, champagne with fried foods is ridiculous,
So many foods.
What? No, champagne and fried chicken.
Perfect.
It's like
How about champagne at a Korean restaurant?
oh my God.
I mean, there's nothing better,
No.
and even better, rosé champagne.
Yes, rosé with
Oh my God.
rosé with barbecue.
Yeah,
I mean,
it can handle the spice. It
yep,
does everything.
Handles the smoke. Yeah, no, it's
No, I think champagne's becoming much more interesting.
Yeah.
And what's it about? It's all about terroir.
Right.
And with the smaller guys coming up, and they've got their own little plots, just like in the rest of France. They're farming their little section of the world. There's more focus on the different terroirs. So nowadays, you can talk about the Côte d'Ivoire, the Côte de Blanc, the Montagne de Reims, in a different way. If you're talking about Veuve Clicquot, you just go, oh, it's Veuve Clicquot.
Right.
It's like a perfume.
Yep.
It's like, okay, that's what it is, beginning and end.
right.
So as smaller guys are coming up and doing their thing, it becomes a much
exciting.
more interesting,
Yeah.
terroir-driven, and like you said, it's more vinous than it is just, oh, it's champagne.
Right. Love it. So we like to start at the beginning. You are from Jersey. You're Jersey.
New Jersey.
All right. Where in Jersey are you from?
I was born in Elizabeth General Hospital.
Oh wow.
Yes, so I grew up, well, as a little kid in Elizabeth, and then we just moved next door to Hillside.
Okay. And
The fancy suburb, I guess.
and what was that like growing up in Hillside, New Jersey?
Well, it was nice. I mean, you could ride your bike anywhere, in the summer, and there's the Good Humor Man, and It was a cute little town.
And
And you could walk 2 blocks and get the bus to New York.
Okay.
The 49 bus took you into New York in 30 minutes. You could basically sneak off and get into trouble. So that was a nice location, yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that your parents were stationed in Germany after World War II.
Yeah, my dad was a physician,
Okay.
and they were in Baumholder, some kind of out-of-the-way place in Germany. But I think it really changed their lives, at least from a culinary perspective. You know, they're a couple of Depression Bronx kids,
Okay.
and next thing you know, they're in this foreign country, and the dollar was king, and you could travel around and eat like a prince. And they brought that back with them, and they really became very immersed in wine and food, and my mom really took off from there. Yeah.
Yeah, we said in your intro that your family was steeped in culinary culture. So like, what's a typical Sunday at the Schwartz household?
It
What
was
that like?
insane. Like people would come over and like freak out, because my mom really got into it. I mean, she made things like beef Wellington. We would go into Chinatown and buy all the ingredients, and if you came to my house, and this is in like, late 60s, you had to use chopsticks, and people were going, I'm not using chopsticks. We were eating raw fish, and people completely freaked out. Like, raw fish? You can't do that. I mean, now it's like you eat raw fish, you get it at the Grand Union, But like,
I know. Right? Gas. You get sushi,
I mean, but it's
get
like
sushi at a
people
gas
couldn't
station.
believe- People, exactly, a little gas station sushi. Yeah, I mean, so it was like that. My mom would travel everywhere to get the ingredients. We'd go down to Elizabethport, had a big Italian section. We'd travel upstate to get butter. I mean, she was kind of crazy. But that craziness was fun too. So all kinds of dishes from all over the world. She was very experimental, and at that time, you had like James Beard and Julia Child. So, all that was the culinary culture in America was emerging. So, she really took off from that. And she was very opinionated. So she had her, she had her favorites and those she didn't like, but she would try anything. And it was all about ingredients. Again, talking about, she was so far ahead of her time. She had 2 butchers, because you can never trust one bbutcher. And she'd have them hang meat for her. And it had to be 6 weeks.
So your mom
She had
like
a German
dry age
butcher and an Austrian butcher, and they would say, like, you have to pay in advance for that. Okay, because all the loss. No problem. And you didn't mess with her, because if she found out you didn't hang it for 6 weeks, like, don't mess. But that was like the most amazing steaks you ever tasted. Still in my head, like that sets the bar.
That's insane.
Oh, she
Your
was
mom
insane.
dry
And
aged
again, but
steaks.
now,
Yeah.
but now it's like, oh yeah, dry age.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, you go whatever the cool hipster
Right.
butcher down the corner, they do
Right.
that for you.
With all the tats and
Yeah, you got to have tats. I mean,
piercing.
these guys were just old Germans.
yeah.
Well, there's a big German community in Union, New Jersey, had a big German community.
And what about the wine? Like, did your family have a wine cellar? When
Well,
you were growing
again,
up?
that was like my mom's purview.
Okay.
And well, the wine cellar, the wine cellar was like the crawl space under the kitchen,
Yeah.
But like we found whatever kind of cool space. She didn't have that part of it down, but in those days, this is whatever, mid to late 60s. She'd go to the local store in Elizabeth and say, I want to buy some Petrus and some Latour, because she would read about these things. And, and the guy said, really, you want those? Okay, I'll get them. They're going to cost $6 a bottle, because, wine was like $1.50 those days, right?
Dude, I
And it's like,
know.
I remember Petrus was $20 and Lafitte was about 10 or 11. I don't,
I've
off the
heard-
charts now, but and
Yeah.
she would just buy that stuff. You buy 61, 62, that's fine. I heard that was a good year. And he'd say, okay, I'm going to order that for you, Mrs. Schwartz. Okay, that's fine.
I heard like DRC, like you couldn't give it away. Like people
No.
had no clue. They wanted their Carlo Rossi,
Yeah.
their Almaden.
Yeah. And
They're
think
Matus.
about it, these stores really they were selling booze.
Yeah, it was they were
They
liquor
were-
stores.
I mean, look at the history of Sherry Lehman. Look at any of these stores and now, like, very fancy wine shops.
Right.
People in America drank booze.
No, we had John Capon on. He was saying like when his grandfather.
Yeah, there's an
he's
old
like,
store.
They were like, what? You don't have every type of schnapps? Like people come like they'd be mad.
Every flavor.
Every
Yeah.
flavor schnapps.
Yeah,
You're out of blackberry schnapps. They would be like
Right.
just disgusted with you.
Right. Exactly. I can't believe this. What kind of store is
What
this?
are you-
You're serious?
What kind of establishment you're running here?
yeah. It was a different world. It was a different world there, and so you could really experiment and buy things, and they were red Bordeaux, white Burgundy people.
Yeah.
They were like that was our thing,
Okay.
and we had good wines.
That's bananas.
Not that I knew shit. I mean, come on, I was
Well, I
10
know,
years
but-
old.
but
I mean,
still.
it was like okay, these were around, but it got more and more fun.
Yeah.
As I got into it.
That's so. I mean, I love stories like this where like $6 a bottle, or even $20 a bottle for a
should
Petrus.
be.
I know, right? Like,
It should be. You should be able to just drink it and not worry
I
about
know.
it.
Not be like
It's just wine.
it is. It's not
just
that.
food.
It's not that hectic.
It's not that hectic.
So interesting enough, when it came time to go off to university, you went to
Yeah.
Cornell,
Yeah.
but you didn't go to the school of hospitality.
No, that was dumb. I did everything
You
dumb.
majored in finance, right?
Oh, because I thought I was smart. I mean, don't you think you're smart when you're that age? You know,
Oh,
you
hell
think,
yeah.
okay, that's right. I'm going to do that. I'm going to major in economics, and then I'm going to work in the banking world, and I'll get it all together. You think you're trying to figure out a path. You don't know. I hated it. Oh, God. I took every class outside of my major.
That's so.
I worked
awesome.
at the hotel school one summer.
Oh, did you?
Great summer. Well, Cornell should only be open in the summer actually, because winters are
Oh my God,
horrendous
brutal.
up there.
Up
Brutal.
north, yeah, brutal.
But and everyone's you got to spend a summer up there. So I spent a summer up there, and I worked at the hotel school, in the cafeteria. Greatest summer ever. It's so beautiful up there.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most spectacular spots on the planet.
Yeah. And so here you go. You go to Cornell.
Yeah.
You major in finance, but you don't go to work on Wall Street. What do you do?
Well, no. When I did eventually I did work in banking. I
Okay.
worked for Union Bank. I moved to California.
Okay, but yeah,
So I
people
did
think-
that
Right, but you moved to. Why'd you move to San Francisco? Was it?
to San Francisco.
Why'd you move to San Francisco versus
Versus L.A. or New York?
versus New York?
Because everyone's going to New York. I'm always like, I could do my own thing. I had to get away.
So what year?
I had to see what it was.
What years were you there?
So that was 1980. I moved there. Plus, I was seeing a girl I'd met in New York previous summer. I was working in banking in New York,
Okay.
and it was really kind of a joke job that kind of paid a lot. So I was walking around. I met this woman in Central Park, and we ended up becoming pretty tight for a long time. And she was from San Francisco. She was a dancer. So that kind of eased the way to go out there. Let's put it that way. I'm getting some shark guys, some stink guys over here. I don't know, but anyway, but I wanted to experience some different place.
I get it.
And we traveled a lot when I was growing up, and we had been through San Francisco, and it struck me like, I like the idea of being in a city, and like everyone from Cornell was going to New York. It just seemed
Right.
really boring.
Right.
So I just wanted to see something different.
And what was San Francisco like in the 80s? Because first of all, I mean, like, if this is like pre-tech bubble. I mean, you had a couple
yeah.
of, but like, it was
No,
like
it was pre.
quasi affordable probably back then.
It was quasi affordable. I was working in banking, so that was cool, and I lived right downtown. Lived off of Polk Street, it was very cutting edge gay area. They rolled up the carpets at 9:30. That kind of freaked me out. There were like some cool spots in the Mission, very few. The Mission hadn't happened yet,
Yep.
but like the restaurants closed 9:30 on Saturday night.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was pokey. It was pokey. So, I mean, I look back on it fondly. There were things I, eventually did not like about living in California, like you're not allowed to have an opinion. Once you express an opinion about like anything, I really, that movie really, that was okay, but that actor, you must be from New York.
That's so funny.
That's the first thing they'd say to you. You're from New York. You have an opinion. That just made me nuts. Like everyone's just like chill. Yeah, at least on the surface. Incredible Asian restaurants there. That just blew me away. Every little corner of the Far East, there would be a restaurant from that place, and it was fabulous. That was something that I had not experienced. Even though we had, I grew up like around Chinese food and Japanese food, but it was like in the generic sense, not in the specific sense.
Sure.
And that was great. I really loved that. So the food culture was more interesting actually than Chez Panisse was there.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. That was happening. I think the Asian food culture was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, if people don't realize. Actually, I was watching something yesterday, and the impact of the particularly Chinese immigrants in California.
Oh yeah.
The railroad, but actually, there was this wine thing I was watching, and a lot of Chinese immigrants dug out a lot of those original wine caves. in
Oh, I'm not
Napa.
surprised.
Yeah, right.
That was cheap labor, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like shit you don't even think about. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
and then you go like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all about cheap labor in this country.
All about it. Where we can.
We're about it.
But now we don't want it though, right? We're
Right.
putting up walls. Yeah, that's gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're working in finance.
I'm working in
banking,
finance. Yeah.
And
Commercial lending, middle market,
okay,
$5 to $10 million loans. Yeah. A lot of real estate.
yeah.
And international. I got a taste for international, and that I thought was really cool, like letters of credit and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
People don't know the way the
interesting.
world fucking works. It's amazing.
No, you saw the sausage getting made.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and that was cool.
yeah, I worked in banking for like a year, not at the, but like people like you're like, oh my god, like, and I have a friend who's worked in it for years. Same thing. Like, there's people who do like, you know, he does like institutional lending, 25 to 50.
Yeah, really
million.
specific.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the world is an interesting place behind the scenes. And you're like, why are you banging me for an overdraft fee?
Oh, that's how you start. You learn by doing overdraft.
Exactly.
That's like the basis of credit.
Right.
Should I let this guy bounce his check or let him pay the check? I got to decide. It was, some unpleasant phone calls you had to make. Sorry, Mrs. Jones, your car payment's going to get bounced. Yeah, not good.
So what was a moment where you were like, enough, Ajita?
Yeah, I can tell you. It was the time I finally, I worked in different offices around San Francisco. I worked out in Oakland Airport. I worked down in Palo Alto. Because they're moving you up through a program. And I got my big chance. I'm working in the downtown San Francisco office. Beautiful office. And the guy that's running the office, the big cheese there, calls me in. I go, call me into the office. Like, this is not going to be good. He goes, Victor, you know, the work you're doing is good. You know, all the loan write-ups and all that's fine. But getting some complaints about your ties.
What the fuck?
Your ties. I mean, I'm wearing a suit every day. A suit. Not a sport coat. A suit. Every day. Conservative suit. But, I had a little fun with my ties, right? Like, but I was wearing a tie. And, like, you got a problem with my tie. Like, I knew I was in the wrong place. Because, like, I'm wearing a suit, but the tie was too outrageous. This doesn't fit me.
And people think like you said earlier, like people think it's Northern California, hate Ashbury. Blah,
No,
blah.
super conservative. Oh, no.
Fucking like,
No.
You got called in because your tie.
Because my tie, and that was a seminal moment. That was. Yeah, so then you start, you start finding ways to goof off. If you're in the wrong place, Well, we had one of the great things was you're always taking clients out to lunch.
Right.
So that was fun. So, it's like, I'm going to use my budget and go to some nice place for lunch. And there were some good places there. Compton Place, yeah. There were some really nice restaurants there. So, like, okay, I'll use the budget for that. Have a good time. But I wasn't motivated. And frankly, the kind of work we were doing, it was like kind of too easy.
Okay.
You realize how conservative, like if you couldn't bring a really interesting deal to the bank. So it wasn't that motivating intellectually or any other way,
Institutions are funny like that.
Yeah, and there was like a fitting in thing.
Yeah.
And I was always getting into trouble. Saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, You realize even though like you're at a party, like you have to be still controlled.
Yeah,
That's
right.
And I didn't understand that. I was
You're like it's 6:30,
I got into trouble.
bro.
We're drinking and this and that, but like, but everything that happened somehow got back to Big Brother, and it's like, oh fuck. So yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna go even worse stuff than that, but yeah, it wasn't a good fit for me.
So, 1984, you started a mail order catalog of California wines.
No, I wanted to,
Okay,
and that was the thing I wish I had done.
Okay.
There was a business development officer who was from Napa.
Okay.
And he was into wine. And one of the things that was great about me moving to California was we didn't have any California wines in my house growing up. It was all Europe. Right. And I started going, whoa, there's some good wines out here. And also it was great because it was developing my own palate. Not that I was doing that on purpose. I was just like enjoying drinking wine, you know. But it was kind of like fun to like experiment and learn in this whole other area of wine that I had never experienced. So we were talking, and it's like, wow, you know, I don't think these kinds of wines are getting distributed around the country. And, you know, I'd be going back and forth to New York all the time, see my family, whatever, Thanksgiving or so. So I did a little market research, and it was pathetic. You know, and this is in the early 80s. Like, you didn't see California wines with any kind of representation here, or any kind of respect for that matter.
Right.
You go to a nice shop, and there'd be like one of those like crappy orange metal wire racks, and there'd be like 6 wines across the way, and then like, you know, 12, the rest of the case underneath. And that was it. That was besides the jugs. I mean, plenty of jug wine, but you know, there was like no serious wines. Like, wow, this is a great thing that we could do. And mail order was just like, that was kind of happening then too. That whole concept of mail order, right? Everything was mail order. So I was like, we got to do this. Anyway, long story short, I researched my way out of that idea. I should have done it, because it would, you know, you got to have like an entrepreneurial mind, and when you're working in an organization, in an institution, in a corporation, you're not thinking entrepreneurially.
Well,
it's
they don't
a different
want
brain.
you to. Yeah, it's a different brain.
It's a different brain.
And there was like, that wasn't even a term. I mean, obviously it was around, but it wasn't even a term, like in the 80s.
No, not really.
You know, like it was business owner. Like it was just like it was if someone started their own business,
Small business owner.
Yeah, small business owner, right?
Yeah.
And it is a different mindset. They don't like you to think entrepreneurially. You just do your job.
Yeah, just do it. Do what we tell you, and then go on. And entrepreneur is just different. Complete. You know, it just flips it on its head. It's like, how do I get this done?
Exactly.
And I'm just going to do it, and then the rest will fit in.
Exactly.
You know, you turn everything around, but you don't do that in a corporation. But I was pretty psyched to do that. I had done a lot of research and spent a lot of time at the business library here in New York. Just couldn't do the interstate shipping thing.
Yeah, that's always a trick. But
then it happened. But it did happen. So, you know, they worked their way around it.
But to this day, I mean, like, it's still like
it's still limited.
States, you know,
yeah.
Like Jersey. The Sopranos got their hand in your pocket if you're selling wine in Jersey.
Well, all of wine was mopped up.
I mean,
when I told my parents I was getting into, like, you know, wine and spirits business, they were like, you know. Well, I don't want to cast any aspersions on Italians, but like our name did not end in O, okay? So it wasn't going to work, you know. Oh, there are plenty of Jews who are in the mafia too, in the wine business. So I'm not going to say, you know, we're not above that. So everybody's dirty.
Was it Meyer Lansky? One of the most notorious of all time, right?
Yeah. Murder Inc. That was a bunch of Jews. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you researched yourself out of the mail order catalog, and you're so right. The 80s, I remember, because I was like a teenager in the 80s, and like I would buy, like, I ran track. I would buy like running shoes mail order from California. And back then you could do COD. The UPS guy would come and you'd pay him cash. Wow, this shit was so different. Not like, we got your credit card, and then we're gonna get breached in your shit. You're gonna have to cancel your
before you
debit card.
Turn your computer off. Amazon's got it delivered at your front door. And it's already paid for.
Right. Yeah. But no, that was a big thing. That was the precursor to the internet. Was mail ordering, right? You know, I mean.
Yeah, and
for everything. I mean, you always had Sears catalog, but yeah.
Do you remember how your mailbox would get filled up with like all this like mail order stuff? Mm-hmm. It was a big thing. It was really happening.
So. After you left the bank and you were, what did you?
Well, I just left because at a point I'd been there whatever number of years, 5 years, and it's just, I realized that like if it didn't jump off, I'd be sucked in, you know. And my girlfriend at the time was a real disruptor, and she said, "You got to get out of here," you know. And like, well, I'll go to business school, you know. It's like, well, you just like postponing things,
right?
You know? You're just putting off the decision that you don't want to make a decision, and that's definitely my personality. I don't want to make decisions like that. Especially big ones. So it's like, yeah, you know, you're right. So, you know, I had been going to cooking school.
Okay.
Wonderful cooking school. A little place called Tante Marie's. And it's still there. And I'll never forget, it was right across the street. It was in North Beach, you know, San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So, it's, you know, very cool area, Italian. And Lawrence Ferlinghetti, great poet, lived across the street. So that's very, very cool little enclave. And during the day, it was a professional cooking school. And the evenings, it was, you know, professional school, but it was for people like me that really wanted to learn. So it was like serious. And that was great because, I like cooked with my mom, but my mom was not, she never, she was a home cook. She never really spent the time to get her chops down. And that was really fantastic for me, learning knife skills.
Right, that's the main thing.
Stuff like that,
Knife
right?
skills are
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. So I had this like food thing going, and obviously food was very much in my genes. And it's like, well, we'll just start catering. We'll just start doing food. So we're just going to make food, and we're going to deliver it, and we're going to go around and just make this thing happen. So I did that for I don't know, a year and a half or so. And then whatever. You don't want to do a business with your girlfriend, so that was not a good idea.
What was what kind of foods were you delivering?
Oh, we were doing like really nice lunches. Like I drove the car and she went around with like a nice basket, and it was all kinds of like lunch stuff. And we get up early in the morning, and it's all fresh meats and that kind of thing. And it was fresh breads. We'd be at the bakery first thing, and it was a big pain in the ass, but we wanted to do it right.
What was the name? That was Deluxe?
That was Deluxe, yeah. Deluxe delivery. Deluxe delivery. We had a little menu. It was, the thing is, it was just a way for me to move on.
Yeah.
And to kind of enjoy this completely different life. Like getting up, buying food, making it into something, even if it was just sandwiches. They were good sandwiches.
Oh my God.
But it's just like the thing.
The sandwich is maligned.
Yeah, it's much maligned.
Is there anything better than I mean, no, it's compact. I mean, a well-made sandwich.
And the opposite is true. Like a really bad sandwich.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's just like inexcusable. Something wrapped up in cellophane, with yellow cheese on it or something. I mean, that you get the 7-Eleven.
If they're gas station sandwiches.
Yeah, that's real desperation.
That's like drunk and high at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's exactly. Oh, Domino's Pizza, that sounds good.
And all they have is the tuna.
It's a little brownish. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah. So no, we really did it right. We really did it right. We had some good clients. We had San Francisco Magazine. It was kind of a funny story. They were desperate for somebody to fill out their most eligible bachelors in San Francisco.
Oh wait, really? Okay.
I did true story. And my girlfriend said, "Well, my boyfriend's in the car. He's an eligible bachelor."
Wait,
and they called me and interviewed me. That was my last podcast. No, but they interviewed me for like 5 minutes. I said a bunch of stupid things, and I was in the magazine. And I got to go to the 50 eligible bachelor party, which was pretty fun.
But I'm just
like stupid things that'll happen to you if you don't pay attention.
If you have a girlfriend, how are you eligible?
Well,
Seriously, trying to get rid of you?
We had a very loosey-goosey relationship.
Oh, you had one of those California relationships.
Yeah.
San Francisco.
It was very on again, off again.
It was the Summer of Love 1987 edition.
Yeah.
Oh my God! So, and did it say that you were, you had this business?
I said I had this business. Okay. Yeah, I got a little. I wasn't in. There was no picture of me. Okay. Chris Isaac was the story, and Ken Friedman. Sorry, of ex restaurant fame.
Okay.
He was in there. Those were like the picture guys. Those are the main dudes. I had a little blurb, like 3 lines. It was kind of funny.
So, you had said like don't work with your girlfriend. So how long?
No,
how long?
Or your mother. I did that after that. That was the other part. Don't work with relatives. But I shouldn't say that because my daughter's now in the company, and I couldn't be happier because she's smarter than me. So, yeah. But in general, yeah, girlfriends and mothers don't work with them. That's my sage advice to any entrepreneur starting out.
So, what happened after Deluxe? What was the next?
So after Deluxe, I was kind of burnt out in California, and so I was poking around in New York.
I'm the only one drinking. This is banging. This is one of the best champagne I've had in a minute, bro.
It's really good. Well, there's a good story here because these people completely rebranded, completely went back to basics. They only use their own estate fruit, cut way back on the sulfur. It's just some intense, beautiful, beautiful wine.
This really is.
And they just focus on the terroir.
Yeah, this I've had some bigger houses, Springfield bottles lately, and this I'm like, and I'm like,
What's so amazing about Bonnet is that they have the power and the elegance.
Mm-hmm.
To get both of those things in a bottle is great.
This is really good. All right, so you're burnt out.
I'm burnt out, so I don't know what my next move is going to be. But I wanted to go back to New York. And, and at this point in time, you got to understand, MJ, I never lived in New York. I was a suburban kid.
Right.
I lived in San Francisco, and it's like, well, and I'd be going back, and I had a lot of friends here and all that, and my family was here. So, one thing led to another. I was in a wine shop, at Park Avenue Wine Shop, and they just offered me a job. I guess they were desperate. I don't know. And like,
what do you mean you were shopping? And
I was like shopping. No, I know what it was. I was shopping. I was poking around. And I was doing research on my never to happen
mail order
catalog.
Okay, right.
So I got to talk. I was talking to the owner
Gotcha.
and this and that. And I don't know, maybe because I had a couple of brain cells because I was working in banking or something. They figured I knew something. They said, if you ever wanted to come back here, we'd consider hiring you, basically. And it was a good little shop. A guy named John Sheridan ran it, and he gave classes, and that was kind of part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
The bad part of the shop is we didn't get to taste in the shop, but we got to take his course.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, all these, like, really eye-opening for me.
I
I met Danny Meyer there. Came in as a customer.
Wow.
Before he opened up Union Square.
Wow.
He asked for some advice. It was, everyone's just sort of like figuring it out at the time. And it was a good little store. And I started to understand stuff and what was selling and what was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to get my own sense of what, just the first kind of kernels of thinking about wine. So I worked there. I worked at Astor. I started doing some catering. I was kicking around, and then I got a job at Life Cafe. They needed a general manager. That's before Life Cafe got famous from Rent and all that. It was a very, Tompkins Square Park, East Village, late 80s. We're talking drugs.
The Rastas selling oregano to the suburban kids from Jersey.
Oh, that or the people shooting up in the
Yeah, I know. It was bad.
It was ugly. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
New York in the 80s.
crack was killer then.
Yeah, I mean.
Crack was everywhere. I mean, I had to close some nights there. It was a late night place. So you'd be walking home at 4 a.m. Crack vials everywhere. It was not pretty. But it was vibrant and fun.
And that
and
was
cool.
I mean, it was
and
cool.
cheap.
I mean, you're talking
I don't want to
CBGBs.
tell you what I was paying for my apartment.
No, tell us.
You want to know?
Yeah.
I had a studio apartment in the Village, which I still have. I was paying $350 a month.
That's why he still has it. He's like, I'm not giving that shit up.
I'm not paying $350 a month.
I know, but you ain't.
But I'm saying, it became co-op. But no, but it was just a different world. And economics makes everything happen or not happen.
Yep.
And there was a lot of cool stuff happening in the East Village because it was cheap.
Yeah.
And you had cool restaurants and cool clubs, and you could just do stuff.
Right.
And when stuff becomes expensive, you can't do it.
Right.
Like what should I say? The wealthiest people or the people with the money are not necessarily doing the most interesting things.
No. No.
So you have to have that crucible.
Right.
And the East Village was definitely that. So it was fun. It was fun running Life Cafe. And they kind of let me do anything. Because, I don't, the story of Life Cafe?
Not fully.
But it's connected to Rent.
Yes.
It was all based on that.
Right.
So you had Kathy Life. They changed their name. And David Life. And the problem was David ran away with one of the waitresses. And Dave was all tatted up, long hair, rode his bike to work every day and everything. Kathy was like a businesswoman.
But
they were so diametric.
But the 80s, like, tattoos were like, you were like a sailor.
Oh,
people, it wasn't people don't get like no one had tattoos like in the 80s, but
and he was totally
marine merchants and shit.
Yeah, he was, you saw some of it in the East Village.
Well, I'm sure in these villages, like you said, it was a whole hotbed. Yeah. But okay,
So anyway, like they didn't talk to each other. So like as the manager, like you were right in the middle. So she, like neither of them really wanted to deal with it. They just wanted to kind of collect a check. So, but the cool thing was, I could do whatever I want.
Okay.
We had a bunch of Chinese guys in the kitchen, of course, right? And I designed the menu. This is too good. I wanted to buy good wines, so I asked, God forbid, I asked Robert Chatterton if he'd sell me wine. Like Chatterton.
Yeah.
He only told you he would deign to decide whether or not you could buy wine from him or not. So Blake Johnson came by and showed me some cards and this and that. But we bought wine from fucking Chatterton, and I thought it was pretty cool. This is a really
that's
not
really
a fancy restaurant.
But
at all.
do me a favor, because there's probably a lot of people who don't know
Robert
Yeah,
Chatterton?
yeah. Tell a little bit about him, please.
He was a force. He had incredible wine. Wines like Quintarelli. He introduced Nicolas Joly. This takes us to a whole other place, MJ. I mean, he came out of a tradition of Robert Chatterton, Robert Haas,
Yeah, Bobby Haas.
Frank Schoonmaker,
Mm-hmm.
and this all connects back to Sam Aaron and Sherry Lehman.
Okay.
And this is all kind of happening, and this this predates me. This is probably all happening like post-war.
Right,
Also,
because I read a book. I read maybe it was Hedonist in the Cellar. Like Schumacher,
Schumacher was the man.
yeah, and these guys were. Some of them did like espionage work for the U.S. So they got like.
He worked for the OSS.
Yeah.
He worked for the OSS, and he also wrote for the New Yorker. But he introduced Sam Aaron. So Sam Aaron,
Okay.
Sherry Lehman, he was famous for his catalogs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it was Schoonmacher that really showed him the way. Because like Sherry was like every other place, and they were selling like a lot of old granddad.
Right.
Wine was not a thing. So all that was happening at the same time, and I guess there was probably like a lot of soldiers, like my parents, coming back from Europe, and kind of stepped up the sophistication.
Okay.
So Chatterton, I think, is coming out of that world.
Gotcha.
And he was really cutting edge. He was really imperious, and as a distributor, we have to go to our customers.
Right.
He would call you up and say, Michael, I want to see you in my office next Wednesday at 3:00. And he played the fiddle, and everyone jumped. If you were a restaurant, he'd say, "Let me look at your list. Oh, your list sucks. I'm going to tell you got to buy this, that, and the other thing." And he got away with it for years because he had cool stuff.
Yeah.
Until he didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he was a factor, and he had great wines. And I was so impressed because he put his name on the label, and that was one of the things that I really wanted to do when I got into the business. I just loved that idea. He put that imprimatur, and I'm behind it. I'm Robert Chatterton, or I'm Robert Haas, or Frank Schoonmacher.
Yep.
That's who I am, and I picked these wines out.
Right. Like
And that's
Kermit
what I
Lynch.
wanted.
That became
Kermit
a thing.
Lynch became
Yeah, it
after
becomes a
that.
thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
but those guys for me, especially Schoonmacher when I was growing up, because that was even before Chatterton.
Yep.
Haas was out there, but you'd see their name on the label, and that really meant something.
Like when people talk about branding today, like if they're my personal brand, they're doing all this TikTok and all this shit. But
Right.
When you're talking like this was real branding. Like you looked at the label, and you're
It's like some French wine. I don't know. It's
right.
Macon Village. I don't know. Is it good or not?
Right.
You don't know.
making villages.
Macon. That's a town in Georgia.
Right, it is.
They making wine down there? Macon? Yeah.
So you're working in New York. You doing
So I'm working there, yeah.
cool stuff. You were studying French, taking French classes?
I like to joke around because I started taking French. Got to roll it back. I was doing when I was in banking in San Francisco. I was doing everything but banking. Right? So I was taking cooking classes. I also it's a whole other God. You get into too many things. So my brother was kind of basically flunking out of college. So I figured out a way I could get him into college in San Francisco. So he moves out there, and he's totally into languages, and he lives in Japan now. He studied Japanese, and that became his whole thing.
And that was a
That
rap.
was he married
It was a rap.
beautiful
Exactly. I was like,
Japanese
it's a
woman.
rap.
That was the whole thing. But anyway, so he's working in a language school, and I start taking, and it happened to be 2 blocks from my apartment. So I started taking French classes there. And the way the guy was teaching French was so different from the way I was learning language. I was a good language student. I had studied Spanish in high school and in college. I was good, but I couldn't speak for shit.
Right.
And this guy, he only wanted to talk.
It was conversational
It was
versus
all-
versus conjugating of verbs. It was just conversational. This is how you can learn. This is how you learn language, by speaking it.
It's music.
Yeah.
You're singing it.
Yep.
And we just started right off the bat, speaking whole sentences. And that just blew me away. So anyway, when I moved to New York, I took French classes everywhere. Everywhere. New School, Alliance Française, Berlitz. I mean, there was a class, I just wanted to try to find a new way to learn French, because that was one of the things. I had it in my head, somehow I was going to be doing this eventually. So I'm doing this. I was working at Life Cafe, And I never forget, there was a woman there, and it was a very artsy place. She called herself Montana. She was
Before Madonna, there was Montana.
There was Montana. She was a great waitress, and I don't know. We were talking about like what we wanted to do and this and that, and I told her how old I was. She goes, "Oh, you're 28. Your Saturn's returning. You're gonna have a big change in your life." And like I'm not like into astrology or this that. I was like, but she kind of blew me away. It's kind of like scary, But sure enough, things really changed from there, and a lot of things. And without trying to be too, I don't know, vooky about the whole thing, but a lot of things came together in my life that allowed me to move to France. And it was just kind of weird. Like I had enough points on my card from flying back and forth to California. I could get over there for free. I was dating a Belgian woman at the time, and her mom was a sweetheart. And she said, well, if you come to Belgium, I can work out and get a car for you, and I can make some introductions for you. I did that, and then the most important thing I did was a totally ballsy move. I wrote to Steven Spurrier. And this was maybe like 4 or 5 years after the Judgment of Paris. I hope everyone knows who Steven Spurrier is.
Yeah, first of all,
he's a super important guy.
I mean, so
super important.
I mean, first of all, not an email.
No, email.
Didn't shoot him a text.
Didn't own a computer.
No, who did? Computers were like as big as this room back
exactly.
then. And like, wait, and we're like 16 fucking K. Like your phone's like 120K. Like computer's like 16K.
Right.
And big as a fucking building, right?
Exactly. I wrote him.
You wrote him.
I said, well, I just felt like after what he had done at the Judgment of Paris, I said, okay, this guy, he's an iconoclastic kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
He wants to do something different. Here's an Englishman with a whole bunch of like wine things in Paris.
Right.
He kind of has his finger up to the whole French
Yeah,
wine
that's
establishment,
I mean,
right? He really poked them in the eye
Right.
with that whole thing. So I figured, okay, I'm going to write to him. Like, I want to get into the wine business. I've spent my time. I work in wine shops. I'm learning French. I'm ready to go. So I wrote him a letter. Like, he wrote me back. Hey, I wrote James Beard a letter, and he wrote me back. I'm really impressed. People respond to letters. I reckon.
Oh, it was a different world. It was a different time back then, right? It wasn't like
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's something missing because like if someone took the time to write you a letter, you're gonna respond.
Well, think about it. Like a letter is it's your hand, it's ink. You're putting it on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting the stamp on it. It's very like a personal attachment. Email or a text, it just ain't that.
I know.
It's not that.
And I use them all the time, but
Of course, we all use it. I mean,
but
it's
I think
convenient.
but like I think about like you used to write people fucking letters.
Yeah.
And not print, right? Kids don't even know how to write anymore.
No, you just learn
Yeah.
printing. Anyway, I write to Steven Spurrier. I said, look, I'm totally into the wine business. I don't know how to get into it. I want to get into it. It's like really it's something I want to do. So I guess I got my passion across to him. He wrote back. He said, Victor, I've got a job for you in my wine bar. But if you're serious, you're going to spend your time in the vineyards. Don't be messing around living in a city. So I took his advice to heart. I got to Paris, and he had a bookshop also, wine bookshop. And I went right there, and I'm like kind of sort of like searching around, like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I want to do this. I want to, Spurrier's right. He's got the right idea. I got to go somewhere. And I sort of, it sounds like a little bit something out of a movie, but sort of like this book on the Rhone from Livingston, Learnmouth, and Masters, 3 Brits. Faber and Faber, great English publishing
house.
Yeah. And I said, Rhone, this makes a lot of sense. Because, I had working in retail. Yeah, I saw what was going on with the Rhone. There was not a lot there, but what was there was like great value, really delicious wines. It was really appealing.
To this day.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were just talking about like how much we love Chateauneuf du Pape.
Me too. That's my shit.
Because
it's my go-to. Chateauneuf du Pape.
You're not going to go wrong with it.
Right.
Most part.
Right.
For the most part, like, the wines are pretty good. Even
Right.
at like the worst producers, like pretty good, and the pricing's not going to like insult you.
Right. Even like release. you know, you might get an homage to Jacques Perrin. It's $300 on release.
Yeah, that's great
but,
stuff.
But what the fuck would that be from Burgundy or Bordeaux, though?
Bingo.
That's
Right,
my
you
point,
go-
right?
right, so you say
like,
that-
like you're balling out at
Oh,
300.
God.
What, like?
And you buy like, you know, some shitty Louis Saint George Village wine
Exactly.
from Mr. Nobody, and it's like they're asking for all this money. And you drink it and you go, wait, what am I missing? Where is this naked emperor? Because I don't see any clothing on this, and it gets you angry.
Yeah.
That's, I think people get angry at Burgundy all
Oh,
the time.
yeah.
Yeah. You just get angry. And
Yeah.
it's like, go to the Rhone, man.
Exactly.
Rhone and Rioja.
Yeah.
Rhone and Rioja.
Oh, still.
Cannot go wrong.
Another fucking one.
Yeah.
To this
those
day,
two.
Spain.
Yeah.
Even with Vega, like.
But you can always have stuff like
but
that.
even
Yeah.
Vega. I mean, if Vega was a first growth, how much more would it cost? Let's think about this, right?
That's right. If you
that's
put
what if you put it in perspective
Absolutely.
to the reverence given to certain wine regions.
That's right. That's right.
But like, yeah, I tell people, you want value, fucking Spain.
Yeah.
There's so many bangers from Spain from
Yeah.
$10 to $20 that
Yeah.
will knock your socks off.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a Rhone guy.
But you know what you're touching on, MJ, is like really what got me into this business. Because I realized, okay, where's my path going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not going to like start out and it's like, oh yeah, you know, DRC is going to want to work with Victor Schwartz, you know, 20-year-old schmagegi from New Jersey.
Schmagegi.
You know, like where am I going to find my place?
Right.
And I realized it's like I'm going to go off the beaten path.
Right.
Going to go off piste
Yeah.
and find some really cool things because I had tasted them.
Yeah.
You know, I had worked at Astor too, and it's like you taste some of these really cool wines. Like, there's something going on out there.
And talk
I wanna
about
get there.
terroir.
It's all that.
It's all terroir
And
down
it's
in there.
terroir. It's family. It's culture. It's cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
All these places have great food.
Right.
I mean, come on, that's a great appeal about our business. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about the food and the wine.
Absolutely.
It's the two.
Yep. It's the
dance.
marriage. Yeah.
It's the
The
marriage.
dance, yep.
It's the beautiful marriage.
Yep. So where did you end up in the Rhone?
So I took this ridiculous drive. I had like this car. You never even heard of this car. Ever hear of a brand of car called Daihatsu? No, because they never would even import this car to the United States because it was a fucking sewing machine on 4 wheels. I drove this Daihatsu. Look, beggars can't be choosers. So my girlfriend's
Oh, this
mom,
was the hookup from
this
the
is the
Belgian,
hookup.
Belgian mom.
This is
Yeah.
the Brussels hookup.
The
So
Brussels connection.
She got this car for me. I'm not complaining, and because I really had no money. This is all on a shoestring. I drove from Brussels to Avignon.
Wow.
And in this little beater, it was like literally it was like a 12-hour drive. It's like it was like like Lindy crossing the Atlantic, I guess, or something. No flowers waiting on the other side. Anyway, found a cheap place to stay outside of Avignon,
Okay.
across the river, Rhone River, of course, is a little town called Villeneuve-les-Avignon.
Okay.
And I don't know how I found this little hotel there. Nice couple, like a residential hotel. And I lived there. And I just like had my Livingston Learn Master's book. And I visited people and I like talking French and trying to talk French. And everyone was super nice, super welcoming, and tasting wines and like learning to taste and looking at the vineyards. And also spent some time, there's a university in Suze-la-Rousse.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wine university there. So I figured, I'll go over there, and I started hanging around there. And I met some producers there, and I met some young people there too, which was good because it gets kind of lonely. It was a fun time. And like everyone was like, "Here, have some samples. Here's some wine." Like people were giving me wine. It's like, why are they giving? Like you're from America? Here's some wine. Take it back and give it to Robert Parker. It was also great timing because Parker had not come out with his Rhone book yet.
Okay.
So that was very unbelievable. There's so many lucky things that happened to me. Oh, and I didn't mention the fact that I rented my $350 apartment out for like a couple of $1,000.
Right. So you're
So one of the engineers for the Cars, the musical group, was making a record on 8th Street. There's a famous recording studio there. So I had everything hooked up. So that basically paid for everything. I mean, it was stupid. It was like stupid serendipity. Like all of this stuff was, the universe was saying, go to France, Victor, and learn about wine. That's all I can say. You can't plan this, right?
No, this
You
is
cannot plan it.
No.
It was, and I came from such like this rigid kind of world. I went to university. I went and worked for the bank, and that. It's like, it was kind of like deconstruction. You have to like deconstruct your life to reconstruct it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. You know what? This is a good point. Good point. We're going to take a break. We'll be back more with Victor Schwartz.
Okay. Changing wines.
Okay, we are back and we are changing wines. Tell everybody what we're drinking on now.
Well, this is a winery I've been working with a long time. It's named Sine Qua Non. Little winery in Southern California that's kind of developed a big reputation.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I am so proud of how we picked up this wine.
Yeah, we got
because it's really, for me, it is everything that we're about. Because, like I was mentioning before, looking at wines off the beaten path and not looking for brand names. I'm looking at the bottle. We're just tasting wines. So, true story. I was trying to expand what I was doing in California. I met another guy in the wine business. He said, I got a friend, and he was a sommelier, and he's got his own label now. And, he's not making a lot of wine, but, maybe he'd sell you a little bit of wine. It's pretty good stuff. I said, okay, put me in touch with him. His name's Manfred Kronkel, and, Austrian guy, and he's working at some fancy restaurant in L.A. I give him a call, and we have a very nice chat, and I said, well, I'll send you some bottles. Well, you taste it and see what you think. Now, I may not have been as open-minded as I am now, and I'm still very Eurocentric in my palate. It's just formed there from growing up, from the wines I really love, terroir, the whole thing. But, I want to expand. I want to see what's going on in California, and I wanted to have some California wines in my portfolio. I wanted to have, more wines to sell, and California was, really, really doing well in the States. So Manfred sends me some bottles. I call up a friend of mine who had been in the wine business. He had been buying for a little restaurant. And I said, I'm making some lamb. I've got like these Rhone varietal wines. I got a Syrah and a Grenache. They're kind of blends. And making some lamb. But I said, bring over some Burgundy because it's from California. It was like a total diss. It was. It's absolutely true. I was like, okay, I got to taste these wines. But, bring something good over. Because, this is
that's
California.
So awesome.
There was no reputation there.
No,
we pulled the corks. True story. We never opened the Burgundy that night. The wines just blew us. We were just, wow, these are really good. These have personality. These are not all oak. There's complexity. There's stuff going on here. And it was very exciting. It was very exciting. And that's the way I love to find wine.
I will tell you,
this is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
This is the 06 Raven Syrah, I should point out.
There you go. Thanks for saying that. And, I drink a lot of Rhone stuff. I drink a lot of Shout Enough to Pop. Yeah. And Grenache especially loves heat. It loves to get ripe.
That's right.
And so people who don't know, I'm like, oh, you like those high alcohol wines? No, I like Rhone wines.
Balance.
I like Rhone wines, and Rhone wines tend to be higher in alcohol, but these wines are harmonious in their balance.
Perfect.
So people talk shit. There's people who haven't had this wine, who talk shit. They see a Sine Qua Non.
That's right.
And they see 15.5 or 16.
Yeah. No, they're never that high, but yeah.
Some of the newer ones are. But this is 15.5. We looked at it. 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This tastes as good as any Northern Rhone Syrah you have fucking had. It's amazing. It's got the bacon fat. It's got the olive. It's not all just the fruit. The color on it at how many years? 16 years old? Yeah, 2006.
Wait, the producer's supposed to do the math for us. Yeah. We've been drinking.
No, we both worked in bacon. We need to do the math. I was like, 16 years old.
Are you kidding? That's what calculators are for.
There's no,
there's no brown on the rim.
No brown on the rim.
No, I've had old ones of these. Yeah, they just go forever.
And so people were talking who throw shade, you've never even had these fucking wines.
The problem is because there's too much prejudgment that happens in our business.
And also,
too many readers.
If Parker likes it,
and
there's a whole segment of the wine business that's like, oh, it can't be good.
Well, we don't want to even go there, MJ, because I'm going to blow my eardrums out. People need to judge wines completely on their own merits.
Exactly.
And that's been my whole thing. And that's how you find great wines, and that's how you find surprises.
Yeah.
Don't prejudge.
Right.
Don't read.
Right.
Do that afterwards because that stuff's interesting.
Right.
All the geeky shit, super interesting.
Right.
I love to know it. I love to know, is it cordon pruning or is it gobelets? I like to know that. And what are they doing? What are they doing in the winery? And it's so complex and it's on and on and on. But if I'm judging the wine, just tell me what it is and put it in front of me in a glass.
All right, so you have this. I mean, did you ever even work for Steven Spurrier, or did you just go down?
No,
the road? You didn't even, okay,
no.
I just want to come full circle on that.
I'll tell. And I met him at the Explorers Club like 10 years later. He was there for some event, and I went. I said, I got to shake your hand because like you got me into this business, and he was a little nonplussed about it.
Right.
He's had his ups and downs too in the business. But
Yeah.
God bless him. He ended on a high note, though.
I think he did too.
I just love people like that.
Yeah.
But no, I never met him. I just did my thing.
Right. Okay.
I just did my thing. I never met him, but I got to give him credit.
Yeah.
People like that, they should know that
I
other
agree.
people are influenced by
Right.
your positive energy.
Right. I love that. He said, you need to go to the vineyards, right? So I love that.
I know he gave me he could have just like used me.
Right.
It's like, yeah, come to Paris and work
Right.
for me.
Yeah.
He
And
could
you
have
know
said
what? And I'm
that.
Steven Spurrier, and you're going to work 16
Like,
hours a
fuck
day,
it.
and you would have did it. And you would have did it.
I would have done it.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And
Right.
it would have been
Ooh, I
fun.
worked with Steven Spurrier.
I'll tell you this though, probably wouldn't have started VOS Selections.
Right.
I would have been there hanging out and being whatever
Yep.
Parisian,
Yep.
bar junkie, whatever.
Smoking Valois,
Yeah,
wearing
exactly.
a beret.
So I do wear a beret actually, but beyond that,
There's nothing wrong
best
with a beret.
best hat ever, beret. Most flexible hat.
There you go.
I go on about berets.
So you got back here in 1987.
So I
New
got
York?
back. I went over there. I lived there for a while.
Okay.
I even worked in a nursery to make some money. It was you had to put it all together.
Right.
I came back here, had all of these échantillons. One of the first words I learned in French. Samples. Two words you learn. First two words I learned in French. Cracher, spit. Où se trouve le crachoir? Because you got to find out where to spit. And then échantillon. Sir, do you want some échantillon? Yeah, I want some of those. I brought back literally like a dozen cases of wine. I never forget going through customs. And the guy said, oh, this is going to cost you something. I said, okay, fine, I'll pay it. Whatever, it doesn't make a difference to me. I need this wine. And he added up. He must have never known what he was doing because it came out to like $1.67. He goes, I guess that's why no one ever charges this. All right, take it out of here. Take it away from here. But he definitely did something wrong on the math. Anyway, I had all these samples, and what am I going to do with this? Trying to get into the business. So I was trying to figure out really, so what's my next move here? I thought I would broker the wines.
Okay.
I'd kind of like be an agent,
Yep.
find distributors. I talked to Mark Lauber, and I talked to Winebow, and I got these, but I did not know how to talk the talk. But what I did do is I went back to the places I had worked in retail, and I brought them the wines, and they were really good. And my pricing was like stupid low. And that was part of my idea was that, hey, I'm going to cut out the middleman. I'm going to be the importer and the distributor, which these days is pretty common.
Right.
Not so much in those days.
Okay.
You had like these really big importers, like the Co-Brands of the world. That kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
And then you had distributors. And then you had the mob. But I had these orders. And I'm like, okay, now I got to fill these orders. But I couldn't put the pieces together. I said, you know what? I'm going to get my own license. I'm going to bring this in. Through friends of mine, I met a guy who was bringing in a really nice Czech gentleman in Washington, D.C., of all places, who was bringing in Argentine wines, which I thought was really weird. This is the 1980s.
I'm seriously.
I thought, this is the weirdest thing in the world. And I had the wines, like, damn, those are good wines. It was like, all of a sudden, my mind is getting expanded in the wine world. And so Charles Bacher, God bless his soul, he was just a wonderful man. And he let me use his license, basically, and I brought these products in the summer of, what was that, we're in the 80s here, 88, I guess it was. And my wine sat on the dock because, damn, I was using letters of credit because I was a banker. I was still thinking like a banker.
Okay.
And the French banks were just sitting on the letters of credit and not turning them over, and they screwed me. Ugh. Anyway, I got the product off the dock. Most of it was good. Thank God for sturdy wines, sturdy red wines from the south of France. But I learned my lesson. I always shipped refrigerated after that. even though like all these big companies go, nobody ships refrigerated container. Reefer container? That's crazy. You smoking reefer? Reefer container? No, nobody does that. All those Bordeaux's come in here, and even guys like Chatterton, he didn't. But the stupid thing I had done was the letters of credit.
Okay.
Anyway, I brought product in here, and I got started. I brought my wines to the old International Wine Center.
Okay.
They used to be in the 50s across from City Center.
Mm-hmm.
There was a wine bar down there called Tastings, and above it was the International Wine Center. And there were a lot of important journalists there, and I just entered these wines there. Wasn't really supposed to because the product wasn't here yet. And I got like all these good reviews. Crazy. Like Wine Spectator, Newsday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, wow, I think I'm onto something here. So that was the start. And I just kept going back to France and going to different regions and spending time there, trying to understand the terroir.
Right. So
trying
you
to see
did that
what's
for 8 years. Like you would go take month-long trips through France.
Just,
Learn the terroir. What were some of the experiences? What were some of your highlights? What were some of the challenges?
Lots. I always say, God, I wish I wrote all this stuff down. Well, I after the Rhone, I really got turned on to the Loire Valley.
Okay.
There's such variety there.
Right.
And that was just so fascinating. And again, you look at what was available here in the States, and it was, Sancerre, Muscadet, Puy-Fumé. Puy-Fumé in those days, I think, was probably bigger than Sancerre.
It was, yeah, I think so.
Maybe you'd find a Chinon, and that was kind of it. You didn't. Oh, Vouvray, of course.
Oof.
But really crappy Vouvray.
Yeah.
Nothing really interesting. It's like there's all this incredible variety going on there, and it's just I just spent a lot of time with Loire, going back and forth to Loire.
So
so much to discover there.
Yeah, like Jean-Paul Picard.
Yeah.
How'd you discover?
Well, that's
Picard. Picard.
Again, I was at my friend's, my Belgian girlfriend's house out in the country. Everything, God, too much stuff. I sound like some kind of...
No, it's, I tell every wine story begins with a boy or a girl.
There's like a girl's
It
thing.
really is. It's always, but it is.
But my travels were, it's like, so they had a house in the Ardennes forest. It was like this hunting lodge. It's a cool old place. It's called Couvin. This little town called Couvin. And a friend of hers said, this wine is really great, and you should try it. So it's like, oh, Sancerre, I have no fucking interest in Sancerre because I'm not buying any kind of wine that people know. Like my whole thing was, I only want to bring in wines like people never heard of.
Okay.
That was like that's too well known. But I tasted it and go, wow, this is really good. So I called up Jean-Paul. I was going back to Paris. He goes, well, you have to come see me. I said, okay, because you got to see people.
Right.
I got on the train from Paris. I mean, traveling around in France is just so easy by train. It's just ridiculous. Took the train to Cône-sur-Loire, and it was really kind of funny. There were people actually, you saw commuters on the train. Talk about commuting from Red Bank.
Right.
These people would commute from the Loire.
Shit.
To Paris, because I was on the train, and
That's
there were clearly people going back from work.
Wow.
Anyway, I met Jean-Paul. I love him. He's about this tall, and he has got the largest thumbs of any human being I've ever seen. And we call him, he's a wonderful man, believe me. I say nothing.
But he's all thumbs.
He's all thumbs. But that's he's got these giant mitts, I don't know why. He was built to work in a vineyard.
Got it.
So I go see him, and, the wines were really beautiful. We walk around, see the vineyards, see the winery, and then we're going to dinner. But before we're going to dinner, he's pre-gaming. It's like, well, let's taste some wine. So he's opened up a bunch of things. Wow, he's opening 3 wines before dinner. All right, we're going to taste these wines. And I'm not spitting anything because I don't want to insult the guy, right? So we do that. Then we go into town. And then we go to the restaurant, and he goes, oh, Victor, you want to try that? Oh, that's an interesting one. You want to try that? And he orders like a dozen wines at the table. I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. Luckily, I understood that you could order wine and not finish it.
Yeah.
When I grew up, my father would squeeze the bottle to get every last drop out. Really. And it was, he was just like that. It was not finishing the bottle. But he corked everything up, took everything home. But the other funny part of that, and this is the part that kind of makes you feel older, is his son was with us. Little boy in short pants and little glasses. And I said, Mikhail, someday I'm going to work with you. Totally joking around, because what up? I'm in my 20s, he's this little punk. I work with Mikhail now.
Oh my God, that's
Dad's
awesome.
still around.
Yeah.
Great family. Great family. And that's how I discovered Picard, and I've been working with them a long time. Wonderful people. The human connection's such an important aspect of all this.
Yeah, talk about that.
You don't get that in banking.
Right, like talk about that. Because
I love your money.
You.
I love when you come to the office and show me your cream.
Mrs. Jackson.
Yeah.
I pulled up your account and got a stiffy. I mean,
exactly.
Wow.
I saw those zeros.
I was like, wah wah wah.
Let's get together and have lunch.
Yeah. And
this just keeps opening up.
I know.
Better. You got to put some more in your glass.
I am.
Jay.
Domaine Le Gallatin from Bando.
Oh, Le Gallatin. Another one I'm working with the children. Well, that's okay. So I started when I moved to France. That was 87. I was working in France. My eldest brother, who's a cellist.
I'm sorry.
My eldest brother,
is a
David,
cellist.
is a cellist. Yeah, and he kind of gave up on the States. He sort of busted out too. He was supposed to be a lawyer, corporate lawyer, and he said, "This is not for me."
Good for him.
I want to be a cellist. Of course, my parents weren't happy about that either. I think our goal in life, there are 5 boys in my family.
Wow.
I think the goal is to make our parents unhappy. But they spent a lot of time making us unhappy too, so that was okay. It was a good trade.
It's reciprocity.
Yes, reciprocity. Anyway, so at that time he moved. Yeah, it's good shit. He moved to Paris. So if you must know musicians because
I love music.
You're right.
Yeah,
and you love music, right? So you know that for every musician, their first love is music and their second love is food.
Okay.
I've just noticed that.
Yeah.
And my wife comes from a family of artists and musicians too, and it's always the same. They love food and wine. So my brother was like, it's like spending a lot of time traveling around France. You're doing concerts or whatever. And he's coming across all these different, and he loved going to wine shows also in Paris. And he introduced me to Domaine Le Gallatin.
Okay.
Little property in Bandol.
Damn,
It's good.
it's fucking good.
I don't, and I'm not saying this blow smoke, MJ. I don't open these bottles. I don't open these bottles because every bottle has 20 buyers for it.
Yeah.
So it's like this is fun. This is fun.
I
to
appreciate
taste, right?
that. I mean,
I'm saying I'm doing it for me too.
I'm glad we're worthy of this.
No, it's a fun thing to do.
It
this
is
a good and a good excuse.
And
to
I
do
know
it.
Elaine's going to listen to this, so.
I'm in trouble.
No, you're not in trouble.
You're
She's
gonna
going to
tell her
love
the
it.
lamb story.
No,
I'm in trouble.
You're going to love it. No, because
those guys pay attention to everything.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They
Once we're done, I'll tell you my Elaine story. But
yeah,
but
they're
I'm
great.
sure she's going to love this. She's going to be just tickled pink.
Yeah. You're opening up the 06 Raven? That's delicious.
It is delicious.
Domaine Le Gallatin. So he's an old timer. He's in the same Achille, Aeschylus, Achille Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
He's just an old Provençal farmer. Beautiful, beautiful terrace vineyards. He's in Le Plan de Castellet. If you're a fan of Domaine Tempier, that's the same town.
Mm.
And what the Tempier, the Perrault family did in Tempier, and he wasn't even from there, Lucien was not from there. His wife was from there, but that was like a country house.
Yeah.
These were very sophisticated people. Right. The people like Pascal, like my guy, they were they were just farmers.
Right.
They didn't, how do you make wine?
Right.
I am not exaggerating. When I went there, Pascal had learned everything from Tempier. He taught these people how to make wine because they were just growing grapes, right?
Mm.
But when I went there,
how you like me now?
He had dirt floors in the winery. He had these big, old foudres that were he had never cleaned them. And
talk about natural wine.
It was very yes. There you go. I'm sure I should have that style now because all the natural wine.
Exactly, man.
Great.
Oh my God,
it's so fucking dirty.
Exactly.
I love it. Brettanomyces. We're just going to say 100%. Is this made with grapes or Brettanomyces? I'm not sure. But the wines were so rustic, and they were still really great.
Right.
It's like, talk about great terroir. You had to do so little to those wines just to like make wine out of it. You know, especially in the south of France. Do very little, grow great grapes, do very little, and you're gonna have good wine. White wine, different story completely. That's not so easy. But red wines, they were delicious. I've tasted some of those wines back to when we started. I have an 87. They were so nice. They sent me a Magnum bottle of 87. I don't know when the time. In 10 years from now, when we do like the follow-up podcast, I'll open up the 87 bundle. But you know, really good wines. Now, his son and daughter took over.
Okay.
Son runs the vineyard. Daughter runs the winery.
Okay.
Celine has made wines in like New Zealand and in Italy. She's traveled.
Right.
She paved the floor. She cleaned the barrels. The wines are still great. But she understood.
The dirt floors are dope because you just spit. You don't have to look for your spit.
You can spit anywhere.
Yeah, you just let it.
Well, I had some funny spitting stories when I. You got to learn to spit when you get into this business. Right? That's the first thing you learn.
Yeah.
But I had some funny spitting stories. Like the personality of the winemaker really impacted like how you spat in each of those places.
Okay.
So like, I will never forget this guy, Guy Steinmeier. Now, I don't know how this German guy got to the Southern Rhone, but he had a beautiful winery. So I'd already been like tasting with people by that point. This was in '87. I'm in the Rhone. You just spit anywhere.
Right.
They just say spit. You know, you didn't look for the crachoir. You spit on the floor. I did that, and he like gave me like devil's eyes. It's like, you spit over here.
He lost his shit.
He totally lost his shit.
He got very German on you.
He got so German on me. But then it was funny. And then you just you just dump your glass. Right. There was another property I worked with in Lirac. When I came back, I had a pretty small portfolio. I had like 12 wineries I was working with. 3 of them were from Lirac.
Okay.
I was just enamored with Lirac. It's still a great area. I mean, try to sell those wines now, not so easy. But I worked with a property called Chateau de Ségriès, and it was run by this very, very eccentric count.
Wait, fucking count.
The Count de Régis. Well, the Comte de Régis, R-E-G-I-S. The name Ségriès was an acronym of his name, and he was very well put together. Except he had, like everyone down there, he's wearing these espadrilles, totally torn to shreds. His toenails were all done up. I will never forget the sight of his red toenails. He was really an interesting guy. But everyone said, you've got to meet this guy. You've got to meet this guy. He makes this outrageous wine. So I went to visit him. There, he gave you the tiniest amount in your glass.
Gave you a thimbleful.
A thimbleful, and when you finished it, you did not dare pour it out. You poured it back in the vat. It was like Burgundy. Like every drop was so precious. It was so funny. It's like every winery just had a different kind of spitting, procedure. It was funny. There was so much about
how's that for
personality.
some natural wine? A little bit of saliva back into the mix for you.
The wonderful thing about traveling in the wine world is that you really connect the human element to the wine, to the product. This is very much the thing about
this is fucking creamy too. One of the things
that so impressed me. So not long after I started working with the Krankels, he had a harvest party, which was so cool. It was so much fun, and all kinds of people, like restaurant people there, vineyard people there, and it's not like you go to so many different events. And if you've gone to like trade events, you only drink like their wine,
right?
No, not at the Krankels. He had wines from Austria, from France.
That's what I love about
such a wide range.
lot of winemakers in California.
He loves Northern Rhone wines.
Yeah.
And he drinks those wines, and he makes his wines. And you want to have that kind of broad palate. That's what Manfred brings to the table, and that's why I think one of the reasons, because it's all about taste, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I think his wines are so brilliant.
Yeah. No,
they've really stayed the test of time.
They really have.
Absolutely. All shit besides, whatever with.
Like I said, I'm being like, don't throw shade. Like these wines are built for the long haul.
They're built for the long haul, but they're great regardless. They, as I say, they go the test of time.
Exactly.
It's just beautiful. I mean, just the aromatics.
The
just keep
aromatic. That's the
changing.
thing. Yeah, you get a bottle, you're like,
I mean, you don't even have to drink this wine. You
nope,
can just smell it.
you just smell it.
Well, that was always a dream of mine. I want to have the aroma dinner party. You don't need anything. Everything is smelled. That would be the sexiest dinner party. The food, the wine, it's only smell.
Oh my God, just got a big hit of the anise in there. And you know, I love. I had a guest on, and we brought a couple of young Rhone wines. And my buddy, he brought we brought a Jeunesse Charvin from the Southern Rhone and a Jablay for the Northern Rhone.
Right.
And I remember same producer. I'm fortunate to have a team of amazing producers, but my producer was in there, and like we poured her the Charvin especially, and she put it was like. And like her face like crunkled up, like she had never smelled anything like this. She's laughing right now.
Like it moved.
Yeah, right. Like it's like and like with this one, she just did the same thing. It's like, oh my God,
It's the aromatics.
It's the aromatics, just blow you away.
Yeah.
And that's when and like
There's so much pleasure in that.
so much. Listen.
Right.
Oh my God.
I saw. You remember when Sephora opened and they had that bar? Like you go to the front.
Yes.
I used to go to the friend of mine. We just like smell shit.
Right.
It's so much fun.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
I know.
I love smells. That's like.
Well,
luckily, I guess I got in the right place.
You are in the right business if you like smells.
I love smells.
Oh my God. And I've said this recently. Music and particularly aromas are some powerful anchors.
Yeah.
They will take you back to just like these moments.
Well, okay. So I was just telling about the Chateau de Segrius.
Mm-hmm.
True story. I was at a friend of mine's house 2 weeks ago, and the property still exists. The count passed away, and the property was sold.
You say Count. I'm sorry. I just think of Sesame
Count
Street.
Chocula?
No, it's all right.
Count.
One bottle of Sine Qua Non.
Yes.
2 bottles of Sine Qua Non. I was just thinking that count.
But he was the Count de Régis was a country count. You know, he was
with
like
painted
fancy.
toenails and busted espadrilles.
Exactly. He didn't care. he didn't give a shit.
He didn't give a fuck before people didn't give a fuck.
So here's the thing, my friend.
I'm a count, damn it.
My friend bought a bottle of his Lyrac.
Okay.
Recent bottle, a couple of years old, like 2019 vintage. I tasted that wine. I swear I could have cried. It took me to that place so specifically. There is such a specific quality to Lyrac and to his place. And it just, and I'm an honest taster. I don't say shit that's not true. I just hate that. Oh yeah, I really get the scent of, I don't know, whatever. The Seychelles Islands. Come on, you know.
I'm guilty of that too. I'm like,
it's there. It's like, and if somebody says something,
I
it's like, I don't know, I don't smell that.
this wine is ass.
I don't know.
I'm like, oh, sorry, did I say that out loud?
If it's ass,
do I not
it's
have
ass.
do I not have a filter?
You got to be honest.
Yeah.
You got to be honest. I mean, because that's what it's about. It's like that immediate connection. Anyway, that wine was so true. It was so true to terroir. That just blew me away. And a different owner even. Clearly, like making good wines there. But it stays. That doesn't change.
So you've also
fads and trends. Aside.
Yes, I love that. Talk about like there's always going to be fads and trends, but there's something about just having a well-made wine that will stand the test of time.
Yeah. And you don't even know that initially. You pull the cork.
Right.
I opened a bottle last night. Terrific young couple in Santa Barbara area. And I'd had the wine, Pinot Noir. They were buying grapes and making wine, and then they started planting.
As you do.
As you do. And I remember having this wine at their place. It was just the 4th leaf Pinot Noir. And I'm going, you guys are great, but like this is just not ready for prime time. But I bought some because, I want to support them. And, we're buying the other wines. They're buying, and they're getting grapes from really good vineyards. So the wine had been sitting in my cellar for a while. 2018 vintage. Wine was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And honestly, tasting it when it was just, coming out of the barrel, it's like, I don't know if it's really there. Now, maybe they did know, but I didn't know.
Right.
You got to be humble.
Yeah.
You have to be. You don't know. And that's what's amazing about, the Great Chateau. And I think that's why there is a big value in that. But it's not the only game in town. I've been very surprised by some modest wines. One of the first regions I brought some wines in from was the Coteau de Tristan. People don't really know.
Yeah.
Tristan is just north of the Rhone, of the southern Rhone.
Okay.
And again, it was just so appealing to me because like all these Rhone grapes, same terroir basically, but a lot cheaper
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the wines I was bringing in was Domaine Saint-Luc, and this is 1995 vintage. I had been working with him for a while, and my first daughter was born.
Okay.
And, of course, I had to give her a wine middle name. Her middle name's Syrah. I just love Syrah. Well, I also wanted to give her a name. My favorite grandpa was named Sam. So I wanted to do something with Sam. And I said, Sam, da-da-da. And I said, no, I should give her a wine name. So I connected
so you took
it.
the S.
I kind of took the S, yes. I took the S. So he made a special label for her. This is just Coteau de Tristan. And he did a special Syrah cuvée. So he did a cuvée Chloe Syrah. My daughter's name is Chloe. And I bought like a whole bunch of cases of it. You know, it's like whatever. It's like, this is Coteau de Tristan, okay?
Yeah, right.
We had a bottle of it last year. It was amazing. It was amazing. Delicious. Fruit was alive. Great color. You know? You don't know. You don't know.
I don't.
And I've had
you didn't bring a fucking
disappoint-
bottle. I don't know.
Well,
but like,
I
but
can't bring you everything.
I know.
MJ.
But I know.
But I love that. Don't you love that surprise?
yes.
I do.
Like people don't get. There's so many like
Lots of great
wines
stuff
from
out
like
there.
Spain and France, the old world, to say, where like, okay, it might be like a $15 or $20 bottle, but that shit can last for 20 fucking years.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like blown away by
Because
it.
it's well made.
Because it's well made.
Well made and balanced. I mean,
Right.
you do learn that. You go, well, this wine's really balanced. It could really do its thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I have learned. When wines start out not balanced, they don't ever come into
Yeah,
balance.
it's really hard
I've
to
had
come
like these hard ass like super tannic wines. They don't come around.
Nope.
You think they do, and then you come 10 years later, it's like it's still super tannic, badass, and it's like not fun.
Yeah.
Wine starts out no fun, dies no fun. Put that on my tombstone.
I mean, so you also do some work in Burgundy. Henri Clerc from Polini.
Yeah, well,
How'd
yeah.
that happen?
Well, roll it back. So, I wanted to do everything myself. It's like, I am going to be like, I'm going to find the wines. I'm going to bring them here. I'm going to sell them directly. But, after, I don't know, 5 years of that, I realized, God, you can't be everywhere at the same place. I can't be, can't be talking to MJ, selling to that restaurant, and be, in France. So I did start working with some trusted people. And
Okay.
It was an agent that I've been working with for a while, Russell Herman. And he introduced me to Bernard Claire, who inherited the property from Henri Claire and located right in the center of Polini. Big ass, incredible holdings. He is retired, and dare I say, he was smart not to trust his children to take over the property.
Mm.
And he basically leased out all of his vineyards to Vincent Girardin.
Oh, okay.
So that's who makes the wines now.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
And they're a great operation, and that's great. And the vineyards are there, and again, fabulous terroir, fabulous old vineyards. So we're working with them. Recent discovery in Burgundy is Hubert Verdereau. I don't know if we can touch on that a little
Yeah,
bit.
we can talk. This is your
Oh, okay.
episode of the Black
Oh,
Wine
I don't
Guy
know, I'm just-
Experience.
I
Touch
had
away.
heard about his wines. Here's a guy, again, started as a sommelier,
Mm-hmm.
half Alsatian, half Burgundian.
Ooh,
Yeah, interesting
very
background.
Yeah,
very interesting
wow.
background. He's working at like Michelin 3-star restaurants, and he goes, you know what? I want to make wine. And he goes back. His grandpa had a monopole in Pommard.
What?
He had a monopole,
Wow.
Colombier,
Okay.
and he goes, well, I'm going to start from there. I'm going to buy some grapes. He super small. Fantastic wines. He's actually the head of the Comité of Burgundy now. To which I can only say, nobody wanted that fucking job. Listen, give it to Mikey. Give it to the new guy.
It's Mikey. He
But
likes it.
The wines are brilliant, just like small, handcrafted. So yeah, I've worked with a lot of producers there. I've worked with Chandon de Briey when Mom ran it. Robert Arnoux, that was a Chatterton property.
Okay.
When the son-in-law took over, Pascal Lachaud. So yeah, I've had my ups and downs in Burgundy. It's kind of a minefield, But there's great wines there. And
But-
you just have to really, really pay attention.
As someone who does this for a living, what, like you said, it's a minefield. What is it about, and particularly white Burgundy? Why? What would you say? Why does the Chardonnay grape just reach its highest expression in Burgundy?
Well, isn't that the history of all these grape varieties in different parts of France? I mean, when you read the history, that was not the only game in town. They were planting all kinds of stuff. There's still Pinot Blanc pops up in all kinds of crazy places.
You know, obviously, you know who Jim Clenendon was.
Yeah.
He thought Pinot Blanc was superior to Chardonnay, and
Could be.
And Kermit Lynch has also said, Kermit Lynch has said somewhere I read that Aligote is the best expression of the terroir of Burgundy.
Well, certain parts of it.
Yeah.
Could be. So when I worked with Chandon de Briey,
Mhm.
she was another aristocrat, Madame de Nicolay. Her daughter runs it now. She made a wine that was all Pinot Blanc,
Mhm.
but she didn't label it that way.
Mm.
But it pops up. The other night, I was drinking a white Moray Saint-Denis,
Okay.
tiny from Clerget,
Okay.
wine we used to bring in. Just tasting it, I know it had Pinot Blanc in it. My point about all this is that, there are a lot of different grapes in these places.
Yeah.
And, why did all the Gamay get pulled up? Because they said it was like a stinkweed. And, I don't know. I wonder what Gamay would be like in a Grand Cru vineyard. I mean, it's not going to happen because, like, the economics, right?
Right. Just like with Napa,
it's
we're
just not
pulling
gonna
up all the Italian varietals and we're gonna plant fucking Cabernet because we can get
Well,
15,000.
I mean,
a ton.
California is the most. Okay. Krankles really understand the terroir of California, although Manfred does not believe in terroir in California.
Right.
So he said to me. But, I mean, that place is completely planted incorrectly. You've got a Mediterranean climate
Yep.
with Bordelaise grapes.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a little back-ass word.
It is.
You do find, you find some really interesting Cabernet in certain places in the south of France as a blending grape with, like, Grenache and Syrah. And that's fascinating.
Right.
But, like, 100% Cabernet, could you imagine, like, buying, like, 100% Cabernet from the Côte d'Azur in France? Like, you'd say, get out of here.
You
That's
out
like
of
the
your fucking
stupidest thing.
mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. But, like, that's what happened there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I
There's, like, such a weird disconnect.
I tell people, listen, I love Calitales. Give me all those Italian varietals in California.
And Rhone.
And
Rhone,
Rhone, exactly. And
Rhone.
Listen. Napa should be like, that's where the Italians went, right? Like Mondavi's,
Yeah.
Barbera, Sangiovese. But like, why the fuck do you think the parents went to Paso Robles?
Yeah.
Rocks, calcareous soils.
But how about Tempranillo? How about
exactly. Oh my God.
How about Graciano?
And the whole thing with Graciano
He's
was
a big-
mislabeled.
he's a
I
big-
know.
He's a big fan.
I know.
He's a big
So is
fan.
Justin Smith. Justin Smith was the guy's like, I don't think this is fucking. He's like, I think this is Graciano. He said, no, Dave's like, they were mislabeling it for years. Like, this is Graciano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great acidity from warm climate.
Exactly.
It makes so much sense. But so game why Chardonnay in Burgundy?
Yeah.
Because they're working in it. The
Yeah.
monks are working it, right?
Yeah,
It kind of starts with them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they like to drink and whatever. Get into trouble. But look, they figured it out, and the French really respect that. They really respect terroir. Like, we're going to grow this grape here because it
Right.
really works well.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to just shit on all of California. That's just not fair. There
No,
are some
I love
serious people
California.
there, but we know a lot of
Right.
the California wine industry was driven by money.
Yeah.
Some really wealthy ophthalmologist. Nothing wrong with that because I get my eyes checked all the time.
I would tell people.
But it's like, I discovered some kind of
This
like
is
thing.
America.
I made $1
Let's
billion,
right.
and it's like, I want to make, Grand Cru Burgundy in California, even though it doesn't belong here. You should be making, the best Chateauneuf de Pape you ever made in California.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like that. It's like
Absolutely.
the money that drives it
Right.
versus the farming that drives it.
Yeah. And
It's
people.
it should be about the farming,
Yeah,
right?
people get
it's
mad at me.
Agricultural product.
Thank you for saying it. People get some people get mad at me. They're like, oh, Napa's not all about money. I'm like, motherfucker, people go make $300 million from some startup and then no track record.
They hire Michel Roland or somebody like
exactly.
that.
And I'm gonna resell wine and it's gonna be $400 a bottle.
Yeah.
Out the gate.
Yeah.
Out the gate.
Right. That's the other thing. I mean, this is turnoff.
Yeah.
Like, why is it $400 a bottle?
Yeah.
You've got some farmer that's been toiling,
Exactly.
every day, all day in the vineyards. Like,
Right.
he's not like clipping his nails, sitting in the spa.
Exactly.
He's like getting his fingers dirty, right? And he's doing that. He's working really hard. And this is the thing, the beauty that I learned when I lived in France is like, this is the piece of dirt that I've inherited. I've got so much respect for it. It could be in the most dipshit, bout du monde, end of the world place in France, but doesn't make a difference. This has been in my family and for generations, and I'm going to make the best wine that I can make from it. I'm going to grow the best grapes and make the best wine because, like, that's what I'm driven to do. It's just such a different mentality.
Oh my God!
You know, it's pure craft. That is pure terroir. That is human terroir, which for me is such an important part of the whole story. It's not about calcareous soil and rainfall and eastern exposure.
No, that's at the end of the day. I don't give a fuck that shit. I mean, like that's
it's
important and impacts it, but
it doesn't make it.
Right, it doesn't make it.
The hands make it.
Exactly.
The mind makes it.
Yep.
The tongue makes it. The palate.
The vision.
The vision makes it. Yeah.
You know.
And that's the difference. And you look, there's plenty of bad wine made in France, lots of it.
Oh yeah.
And people don't know what the fuck they're doing. But I never forget the Domaine Saint-Luc. I've been working with him for years. Ludovic Cornillon. He started his life as a hairdresser. I swear to God. It's absolutely true. The guy had an impeccable palate. So it's like, Ludovic, we've been working together for years. Your wines are just impeccable. I'm from like these crappy appellations. Like, what's the secret? He goes, 3 things, Victor. The taste. It's like, you just like keep tasting those barrels. You keep tasting those barrels, you'll learn what the land is giving you. And then you'll make a great wine. You just learning it. You're in the vineyard all the time. That's why, the millionaire ophthalmologist is never going to make a great wine. Make a good wine. He'll make a solidly tasty, good wine. Yeah. He's never going to make a great wine because he's not in it.
Yep.
You got to be in it.
Yep.
And that's true of any craft, isn't it?
Yep.
The best restaurateurs, the best cabinet makers, they're
You're
making great stuff because they're doing it. You have to be connected. You can't do it. You can't dial it in.
Right. Even and it's so funny. The best like real DJs, like you're not a fucking DJ if you have a computer, a Mac with these fake but like real DJs were pressing vinyl.
Right.
Still pressing vinyl in the 2000s.
Yeah.
They would,
Yeah. Right.
You once said that the spirit of discovering the undiscovered is the guiding principle and underlying strength of VOS Selections to this day.
Yes, absolutely. And it's amazing. The wine world just keeps. There's always something to discover. It's a limitless horizon. And that's what keeps me going. It's really, really fun and interesting. And you discover, like, wow, I didn't know this part of Greece was making wine and how they're making it. And then, of course, this just happened to me. Last fall, we went up to the Finger Lakes. You have these old regions, like the Finger Lakes, relatively old. To me, it's the most exciting, most vibrant wine region happening. There's so much cool shit. I went to school up there, as you know, right? And the wines, there's a couple of good people up there, but now it's like so these old places, it's like when Greece was coming back, like, one of the oldest wine country on the planet, right? It's completely a renaissance of winemaking there. And you see that again and again and again. And that's fabulous. That's just so fascinating and exciting, So it's discovery and rediscovery, perhaps.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So what's next for VOS? Perhaps alcohol-free. You were quoted New York Times. You said, I dipped my toe in the water. I was amazed at how much is going on in the alcohol-free zone. I'm already working on expanding that category. Talk about that. Because I was actually talking to someone today about, like, millennials drink, like, hard seltzer, and I've seen this shit. There's shit like they'll sell you 3 bottles of, like, a non-alcoholic beverage, and it's beautifully packaged in a wax cap.
Yeah.
But like for $70 for some shit that ain't got no fucking alcohol. I'm like,
well, no, it can't be that.
But
That's
like,
crazy.
but like, what? Yeah, talk about that.
Well, look, I'm learning myself about it. It seems like they're figuring out the technology. Maybe it's a dirty word to say technology, but wine is made, like it or not. It doesn't jump off. The grapes don't jump off the vine into the bottle. Although some people want to act as if that's true. It's a combination of humans and nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
This takes it another step. There's no question about it. But they're figuring out how to make really a clean, flavorful, varietally interesting wine. I can't say that anything I've tasted rivals wine. Like, I'm going to drink that instead of the sine qua non.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to have the alcohol-free from South Africa,
Yeah.
or the 2006 Raven Syrah from sine qua non. No, we're not there. I don't know if it's ever going to get there. But, you know, think about like you think about like Asimov's article last week in the Times, which so many people have been talking about. I mean, like non-wine people. You know, I was talking to like all these like college friends of mine. Victor, I just saw this article. Did you read that? You know, look, clearly this is a generation that's got a lot of choices.
Yeah.
And they're not just, oh, I'm a beer drinker. I'm a kombucha drinker. I'm just, they don't define themselves that way. And they have a lot of, and tonight I'm drinking kombucha, and tomorrow I'm drinking a 15% craft beer that does taste like ass. Some of those beers, and cost a lot of money.
What a racket, man.
Oh, I don't know.
Fucking $20 for 4 cans
higher,
of wine.
Go up,
I know,
higher,
I know. But
higher.
still, I mean, still.
So, but the point is, it's become very interesting, right? And another night, I don't feel like I want to drink something, but I don't want to drink any alcohol because I got a 5K in the morning. So I think it fills a very interesting place, and if I can do more there, it's kind of it's another interesting beverage. Wine's my first love.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But look, we were one of the first like serious wine companies to get into spirits. I'm
Okay.
doing an Armagnac dinner on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
We're really like pushing the envelope. I mean, we're gonna like not like dinner, like we're drinking Armagnac
with the food. Yeah,
with
yeah.
the
I know.
food.
Yeah, pairing. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. We're not just drinking some Armagnac. So I mean, like, but that's fun. It all comes back to the table for me, and that's the whole thing. Can I drink this at the table? Does it work with what I'm cooking? That's what it's all about.
Wow. I'm going to stop right there. That's dope. It all comes back to the table.
Okay.
Victor, thank you so much for
this was fun.
coming here, man. This is so much fun. I could talk to you for like 3 more hours.
This went fast.
Yeah,
This was,
exactly. Yeah.
20 minutes?
Tell
It must have been the wine.
I feel like I'm the only one drinking. I'm like, damn, why am I the only drinking? Tell people where they can find you, how they can be a part of what's going on at VOS Selections.
Well, I guess the best place to come is our website, www.vosselections.com.
You can follow them on Instagram at
Instagram.
VOSSelections.com.
Oh God, I'm gonna get yelled at by my social media person.
Exactly. Amber's
yes, we're doing a lot of stuff on Instagram. That's a whole new thing for me.
Yep.
I'm doing all these cooking videos.
Yep.
Look for our reels on Sunday. We do a cooking reel every Sunday.
Okay.
I love cooking. I love eating and drinking wines with
I'm
that.
coming to your house for some dinner sometime. We're going to hang out.
We're going to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to do that, MJ.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love that. Well, thanks again for being here. For all my listeners, please don't forget to check out the show notes for each episode. That's where you'll find out the info on the wines we drank today. You'll also have the links to the websites and where you can find them on social. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, I think, again, we had another guest that checks off all our boxes, to the Mavericks, the philosophers, the deep thinkers, and definitely to us wine drinkers out there. Everybody, peace.
Cheers.